Here I am at the rock of Dunamase, and I'm going to do my best to try and remember the series of reflections I gave here a couple of months ago. The rock of Dunamase is a fairly impressive looking structure which sticks out of the surrounding fairly flat landscape to give a commanding view over the plains of Leash. And as you come up, you find, first off, there is some ditch and embankment defences which would have possibly been here predating the impressive structure which you can see up there. So the history of this rock is that there is an early Christian promontory fort here, and as I said, these ditches and banks, which you can see behind me, may have been part of that original feature. So, why am I doing this, and what reflections am I wanting to give? Well, in many ways, I think the Rock of Dunamase and the Church of Ireland may be compared to one another. And the first way in which I would like to bring this out is, whilst everybody goes straight up there to the Norman fortifications, I like to start down here. And I like to start down here because I think you can see how impressive a fortification it would have been even before all of the walls were built, when there were just ditches defending a Ra on top. And it's easier to see this in the winter, but you can see that there are impressive ditches there. And the point of this is to remember that whilst there is quite an impressive stone structure lumped on top of this rock, there was something that predated it, and which very much shaped what went on after. And I suppose the earlier part of the structure is still here and still part of what happens later on. So further on up, we can clearly see that still this bank and ditch promontory, this pre-Norman fortification, has very much shaped what shape the Norman castle has taken. And I'd like to say that in the Church of Ireland, the early Christian period is still something that is part of our tradition and has shaped even things that have happened in our church several years later. The other thing about the Church of Ireland is that it's not just one homogeneous thing. There are various different, I suppose, bits to our church. And sometimes people like to pretend that, say, the evangelical tradition is the main tradition in the church, or that the Catholic tradition is the main tradition in the church, but each is a part of the whole and needs all its different parts to function. And so, in this fortification, we see that it needs its different parts to function. There is the outer area, and then we have here the first of a number of barbicans. So this is the outer barbican. So if you get through that, you are now in to the defended part of the castle here. So you have the outer defence and then this bit here. And once you're inside the outer barbican, you're, I suppose, more into the church, or more into the castle proper. A lot of trading and stuff may have gone on inside the outer Barbican. This is where everything happens, I suppose, in many ways. Where the main business of this place may have occurred. And when I think of the different levels here, and I think of the outer bank and ditch, and then this inner Barbican, I wonder, in our church, who are the people who are part of it but don't feel that they're really properly inside the walls? Do we make space for them? Do we leave the gate open for them? Do we invite them in to help us do our business? Because the more people we do, the stronger we'll be as a church. So, historically, this would be part of the Norman church. So, the shape and edifice of, it's part of the Norman castle. So, the shape and edifice of the castle, just like the shape and edifice of the church, is very much determined by what the Normans thought of things. Anyway, onwards and upwards to the inner Barbican and main gate of the castle. So as we come up here, we come into the main gate, and this would have been the main defence of the castle. So the idea is, if somebody makes it across the various ditches, then you can defend the outer gate or outer Barbican, and hopefully that will keep them at bay. But if you lose that, it doesn't really matter, because you've got a strong defensive position here, which looks down upon that gate, which attackers can't really use. And in this, it's very defensive because you've got a hole here, as people can shoot arrows across, and the loops specifically don't match up, so that you don't end up shooting your own guys. So we've got a very strong defence here, a very narrow entrance through which everyone must come if they want to come into the inner area of the castle. Which also begs the question, who do we invite into the inner part of our sanctum? The other thing that made me think when I saw this was, in some ways, you might think that this is designed to keep people out, but it's also designed as a space where people come in, because they have to come in through this point. They have to come in this way. This is the way to gain entrance. So a gate is not only a thing of keeping out, but it's a way of bringing people in. The other thing about gateways is that they're great points of communication. If you want to make a point, if you want to say something to people, go to the gateway, because the gateway is where everybody has to come in and out. It's the point through which everybody passes. And if you stand at the gate and cry something, then everybody will hear you. Like Mordecai, standing in the gates of the city, crying out for justice. Gateways are also a place of judgment. A place of judgment because it's a defining place. A place of judgment also because, as I said, it's a place where everybody can gather. It is a focal point. So what are the gateways in our church? And what are the focal points through which people come in and also go out? And how are we as gatekeepers? Are we listening to the voices? Are we listening to the judgments? Are we listening to the cries for justice? I don't know. maybe we should think more about how we are gatekeepers in our church. So once we're in through the gate, we're into the castle proper, and round us you can see the area that would have been, I suppose, the busy lifeblood of the castle, the place where soldiers would have slept and gathered. There may have been many wooden houses around here for all of the activities central to the life of the castle. And also we see the rock here on which the castle is built. We see how it's been cut away to suit the needs of those for whom this structure was home. So this structure, originally you would have had the promontory, and then when the King of Leinster went off and so anyway, after the King of Leinster, Dermot MacMurrough, nicked the Queen of Breffni, he brought her back here. Before all this Norman gubbins was built, when it was just a, well, earthen ditch and palisade built on the rock. Evidently that wasn't such a successful structure because, well, he got chased away from here and had to go and get the Normans for help. And they came here and they built this wonderful structure. Even before that, back in the Viking Age, an abbot had sought shelter here and ended up being killed by the Vikings, who burnt the place down. So the Vikings burnt it down. Then the King of Leinster found that the structure wasn't suitable, and then the Normans came. And well, Aoife and Strongbow started off here, the castle here, and it became castles of William Marshall. Well, things didn't go well for Marshall's sons died, and it went down through the women, and eventually went to the Mortimers, and the Mortimers had it for a while. Then it was taken off them because one of them got done for treason, and then after them it ended up in the hands of the O'Moores, because whoever the King of England gave it to couldn't keep their hands on it. And after the O'Moores, well, they ended up giving it up, and at some stage of the Cromwellian period it ended up being cited, as you can see.